weekend from myself, Joe Wesley, and Tommy the Beacon Hilcken. It just occurred to me, we're talking about sparring and boxing matches. Well, okay, so Tommy's got to psych himself up and call himself the Beacon. We'll have more talk about that tomorrow morning, about what the hoot that's all about. Or maybe you have to come up with Joe the Scratch Wesley. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, you need a tagline, man.
I guess so. So we will do some background house chores, I call it. For those who sign in, thank you for doing that, either during the live episode or the replay episode. Please remember that we hope you do provide a comment, like or unlike, either or. And if you do unlike us or like us, share why. But you can do that through LinkedIn, Facebook, or Zoom. And Google, actually, also. If you do leave a comment, you please understand, if you do it through YouTube, you have to be signed in through the Google application. That being said, Tommy, our purpose here, for those who are new to us, Tommy says anybody who wants to be can be a confident public speaker. My confident, and he's still saying that, by the way, this is what, our 18th session. He has not let loose of that premise. My thing is, look, I'm a shy introvert. And I was sitting in the audience in total awe of those people who were just genetically born to be confident public speakers. He claims I, at some point, could get to that position. I'm still not buying it. So, also, folks, we don't rehearse this. We do agree on a subject matter in all fairness to each other. And so the item that Tommy introduced, and I wrote down, WIIFM, WIIFM. I don't even know how to ask the question. What the hoot is that? So
that's good.
Well, so Tommy, tell us what you got on this.
You know what? It's I want to share something that you said. I sat in many an audience and looked and said, wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. Watching speakers on stage. And 1996 was the first time I sat and watched Zig Ziglar. And, the difference being was I didn't feel I couldn't do it. I just didn't know how to do it, what he was doing and how fantastic he was and how he lit up the whole audience. So what I did was I realized that the thing is, if you see somebody doing what you want to do, ask them how. And I reached out and I asked him how he did it and took his training. And I learned to understand how to present like Zig did. I wasn't Zig, but I learned. So your question today is WIIFM. And what is WIIFM? It's one of the lessons I learned long ago that will help you get out of being yourself. You say you're an introvert, but I know you're a person who wants to help others. So if you stay too introverted, you could never go out and do and have the impact you need to help as many people as possible. You need to kind of sort of grow and become someone who does extrovert things. It's okay to keep telling yourself you're an introvert, but maybe sometimes you have to start doing extrovert things.
Well, I hear that, but that's like, you make it sound so easy. I remember the first time I was on ice skates.
Yeah.
And that's, and single blade stuff. And my ankle twisted. I felt like I couldn't stand up. So it's well, just get out there and skate. That's how you're making it sound. It's got to be more. So folks, here's what's happened. Tommy again has managed to sidetrack me. He's going to get me off in a whole different tangent. And is that the I can't even say it right. WIIFM syndrome? What does it mean? If you say it out, the whole thing, what does that stand for?
Yeah. So it's WIIFM. And so what I was trying to say before you went on your Ice Capades episode there. now
I'll give him that one.
I see what your fantasy is. You want to be Apollo or whatever his name is.
Ooh.
So all good. WIIFM, WIIFM, everybody's favorite radio station. And what it stands for is what's in it for me. So really, when it comes down to it, is when you're talking to people, all they want to know is what's in it for me. So when you're out there and you want to connect with people, all you have to think of is get out of yourself and start thinking that you're there to serve people, that you're there to serve your audience, because everybody in the audience wants to know what's in it for me. So that's the secret, is to give them what they need. So as I say to you, public speaking is just a tool. And if it's a tool you can use to help other people, why wouldn't you tap into that? If you just start to think, instead of, oh my God, I got to give a speech, if you start to think, I'm going out to help 500 people in my audience today become bigger and better than they are, and make them more, better, different in life. So WIIFM is what's in it for me. That's what everybody wants to know. And your job as a speaker or whatever it might be is to certainly deliver the WIIFM.
Okay, I hear that. So how does one go about, I hear it, how does one go about grabbing their attention? Do you put a gun to their head? Do you kidnap them and shackle them? Is there a technique to that program or concept?
So gun to head, kidnap, shackle. I'm going to go with no. Okay, I'll go with no with that. Charisma, personality. Well, in all actuality, creating a character, a charismatic character, someone who people can connect with, enjoy, and have fun with, and you can do a lot of that through who you are and how you appear, and through your confidence.
But see, I'm going to interrupt though. But I'm a shy guy,
right?
And so who I am defines that. So for me to get up in front of the stage, the audience on the stage, and I stop. I can't even get beyond that without stuttering syndrome. So is there a technique? I'm assuming there is, of course, that one can get out there and exude confidence externally when it's not felt internally.
If what you can conceive and believe you could achieve, right? Mm-hmm. So if your whole thought process is, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, I'm afraid, right? If you don't want to make that shift and change that paradigm about who you are, I always say the being precedes the doing. So if that's who you want to continue to be and play it small, I'm not here to argue with you. But if you're someone who wants to come to me and say, I'd like to have a bigger presence in networking events, I'd like to have a bigger presence at the office, I'd like to have a bigger presence during a board meeting, mm-hmm. right? Because you need to have that presence. You have to show that competence, that confidence in order to go up the ladder and become bigger and better, to have more, better, different. You have to do more, better, different. So a lot of times we have to just make that paradigm shift and literally change it and shake it up. That all of a sudden, I do this a lot during my presentations. I make everybody stand up and I say, listen, here's what we're going to do. I am a fantastic public speaker. Mm-hmm. Living in the I am, right? And just filling in the blank. I am good at public speaking. I am confident. I am not afraid. Right? Whatever we put after the word I am, and we keep putting it into auto-suggestion and bury it in our subconscious mind, we will become.
Well, okay, I hear that, but I'm going to share a personal example. My wife and I, we've been married for, let's say, at least 20 years, syndrome, up to 30 years, actually. And on a regular scheduled basis, I tell her in a very sincere, I use the most baritone voice I have, and says, I'm wonderful. She's still not buying it. So there's got to be more than just saying I'm wonderful. I can see it as a start, perhaps, but tell me that secret so I can take it back to my wife. So the next time I tell her I'm wonderful, she says, yes, indeed. Thank you very much for being a part of my life. So what am I missing here?
Well, what you're missing is you're not Lou Rawls or Barry White.
Touche on that one. Okay.
Because if either one of them would say to your wife, I'm wonderful, she would buy into it.
She you would, indeed, yes.
Now, that being said, it's the old adage, fake it till you make it. It really is true. As my man Zig would say, you're telling the truth, you're just telling it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Right. So start to have a different vision of what it means to me. Well, let's go to it again. Without the why behind it, if your employer came up to you and said, you must become a better public speaker in order to earn a $10,000 raise, mm-hmm. you would go home that night and you would probably have a big enough why to start practicing public speaking because
Or look for another job. It depends. Yeah.
yeah, I get it, but if the offer is to go up the corporate ladder through public speaking
Mm-hmm.
because we need you to present in front of board meetings or perhaps in front of clients or investors,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things. A lot of people who do numbers, investors, CPAs, people like that, they're kind of introvert people. They're analytical the way they think, but they also have a message that needs to get out to their clients.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't deliver the message to their clients about, let's just say the state of the company financially, then they're going to switch to someone else because they need to know that information and it needs to be clear and precise. So no matter who you are, you still have to. Now we're talking about what we keep coming full circle. You still have to have the ability to communicate. It might not be public speaking as we think of getting on a stage and having a microphone and presenting, but communication is public speaking. So they all come in together. You have to be good at communicating. You have to be good at public speaking because this is how business works. I truly think anyone in business, your number one thing you should do is to get better at communicating and public speaking. Anyone, no matter where you are.
Okay. Well, if I'm hearing it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
then there seems to be a difference that you're advocating, a difference between presenting or a presentation and public
Right.
speaking. Am I hearing that correctly or not?
Well, a presentation is one thing. Now we have Zoom and people doing presentations and then we talk about people call it a PowerPoint presentation, right? And that's one of my pet peeves that I always teach. PowerPoint isn't there to be your presentation. PowerPoint is there to enhance your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people think that it's a teleprompter and they put up their PowerPoint and they just start
Yeah.
reading to the audience,
I've
and
seen
that
that.
yeah, and if that's what you need to do because you had to give a presentation, but you can improve on that.
So you're going in the direction I'm asking for. So let's
Right.
say, so
Of
I'm
course I
going,
am.
excuse me again. Pause for that.
What's in that cup?
Okay, well, I won't say that on the video thing, but when I have these moments with Tommy, I have to have my sustenance to keep myself going. That being said, so how does one transition from being a presenter to a public speaker? And that might ask, what's the difference concept? Maybe that's better yet. The question, what's the difference between a presenter and a public speaker? And I'm not sure if the format, if it's video, if it's, well, not video, if it's live Zoom, or if it's on in front of a room in a small classroom or on the stage of 10,000 people. One
Yeah.
can do a PowerPoint in either instance. When does that
Yeah.
person potentially convert to being a public speaker?
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'll bring it back to what I learned and what I saw. And when people were actually going out and doing keynote speeches, right? Most keynotes when I was younger, I was watching were delivered by someone without PowerPoint. And what I mean to say is that these people were so good they learned how to paint a picture with words.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great skill that you could create a story and have people start to visualize it in their own mind through your words. So that was how you really engaged people, was painting a picture with words, because human beings think in pictures. We don't look at the word dog and see dog. We think of the picture of a dog. We see a dog. So that being said, the great storytellers, the great presenters, the great keynote speakers could all get you right in the heart by telling stories. And now a lot of people have taken a step back and used PowerPoint maybe a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just having a picture up there and you start talking about the picture, they have a ton of content.
Right.
But, whatever it is, whatever people need to get their message out, do what you need to do. But I would say the difference between yesterday and today is the fact that people really were storytellers and they got you, speaking through parables, right? You learn the lesson through the story. What a great way to go. And I still love telling stories if they fit into the content we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, folks, you may have gathered also that I certainly agree with Tommy that he loves to tell stories, because he's been telling me stories now for 18 sessions. And I'm still trying to catch up to him. And it's intriguing. But Tommy and I certainly are differing besides this issue of confidence and intrinsically is it achievable for people. rephrase that. Tommy does say, and I can understand this, and I do agree with that. If you don't want to do it, likely it won't happen unless you get zapped by lightning or you were born that way. So I do agree with Tommy that you have to want to be
Yeah.
a public speaker confidently. Let me say, can one be a non-confident public speaker? Because when I hear to be a confident public speaker, there's a need to put that adjective in there. There must be a counter adjective that I've yet to consider. So
Well,
is that possible?
well, the instead of the word confident, and if you put another word there and put effective,
Okay.
it might be the best way to do it is that if you can step on stage and be an effective public speaker, an effective communicator, an effective presenter, that changes everything. So the word is you need to be effective. And if it takes confidence to do that, then develop the confidence so you can be more effective. But I think we should talk about being an effective speaker next week, folks. So, I'll give Joe all the thoughts he needs to make this show work.
Please don't distract me on that, Tommy.
And you're welcome. 18 weeks with Tommy the Beacon Hilcken. Boy, has your life improved.
Well, I tell you, we could get on side stories. Somebody asked me once, a woman, how have I learned so much? My wife is saying how much I've taught her in terms of our years of marriage, and was rather exuberant about it. And so it was actually a relative, and she turned to me and asked me, well, Joe, what did your wife teach you? And I said, patience.
Wow. 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 You better duck that one, dude. Are you crazy? You think you're fighting me?
I put all that patience to dealing with Tommy for these 18 sessions. We're a little bit over scheduled, folks, but it's been fun. Please share your comments, your questions, share it with other people. Let's make this a meaningful dialogue. Thank you, and everybody. Signing off.
Good to be with you, Joe.